All right. This, going back just a little bit, we have our vocabulary, and there's erchomai, and it's quite common in the New Testament. It's to go, or it could be to come. And then the aorist indicative is aophone. So it's like go and gone in English. Remember, it's a verb. It's a strong verb, and there'll be second aorist, and it can stand by itself. It doesn't have to go by the rules. And here's your stem on it in the second aorist. AO, epsilon, lambda, theta. And so then, of course, the epsilon becomes an eta when you augment it. That's why that's an eta, augment. And then there's your lambda theta, and then the on ending here, okay? And so the on, let's go back, would be right here. But I want you to remember, don't forget this. That and that have the same ending. That can be confusing. And there could be a passage or two where that would, you'd have a problem with it. Not very likely, but it's possible you could run into it. They took or I took. They're both the same. See them right there? They took and I took. And so we do have a little bit of a problem. All right, any comments there? All right, let's go back down here. Erchomai, and then we can put prepositions on it. And right here we'd have ex erchomai, and that would be kappa. Kappa becomes C, and ek. And then they could also compound this with other prepositions, apo and so forth, right? Ek, apo, and those are pretty common. Ex erchomai is to come out, or go out, to go or come out, okay? And ek is out of, okay? So here's your form in it. We have it in this vocabulary, in this translation we're doing today. Okay, we have that form right there. All right. Are there questions about it? All right. So let's go back down here and try to take a stab at it. And there's one right there. That's what I was talking about. All right. And so is this what we're going to do, text A? My memory's right.
Yeah, so that's where we were.
That's where we left off.
Yeah.
Okay. Benjamin, can you start us off? And we'll go with, right.
Ha kurios exelthe kai ede polun oklon. The Lord went out and saw a large crowd.
And saw a large crowd. A day is from Horao. And Horao takes like go and gone. It has a different form here in the aorist. So it actually is a different word. It's from Ido. The id is your stem. And so they put an augment, an epsilon on it. There's your id. Right there is your stem. And they put an augment on it and put an on ending, which could be third person plural or first person singular either. Okay. Here's your infinitive form. There's your infinitive right here, idane. You'll see this word quite a lot in the New Testament. This is a present infinitive right here, a form right here. Now your aorist infinitive, remember, it's going to take a little bit different ending. There's your aorist ending if you had that aorist infinitive. Okay. Does the infinitive have an augment? Just curious.
No.
No, it doesn't, because it's infinite. It takes past and present and everything. It just context tells you what time is involved in it. So your infinitives won't have augments. Augments tell you the time relationship, make it past tense. Does that make sense? Everyone okay with that? I'm just going back, hitting you again, making sure you kind of got that drilled in your mind. Okay, the Lord what now? Went out and saw what?
A large crowd.
A large crowd. Right. We put the word a in there because we in English have an indefinite article there. But he saw a large crowd and we just put a in there. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Now, what about this next one here, Bobby? Can you take down to here?
Let's see, let me get them all together. Arqueto didasken autus pola. He began to teach many of them.
And to teach many of them. And Paula is from polus, which is the word poly, or prefix poly in English. And poly is, there's a polyglot translation, and that would be many tongues. And so it would be many languages, okay? All right.
I did it different. I said he began to teach them many things.
All right.
With things being elliptical.
Okay. Began to teach them many things. And so what is Paula? What
It's an adjective.
it's an adjective, okay? But what? Okay, we had Paulus here, we've had it somewhere, okay. All right, what case is it?
Accusative.
Accusative. So it's what's being taught. So it's receiving the action of being taught. Right. However, he began to teach them many things, and that's probably Benjamin's translation. What makes sense was Benjamin's translation. Okay, because many is accusative; it's receiving the action of actually, yeah, of being taught. The Dascain is actually an infinitive, of course, present infinitive of didasco. But he began to teach them many, and I like many things because this is, if you look it up, did you look it up? What gender is it?
That I don't recall.
Neuter. Which one?
Yeah, the one I've got.
Neuter.
Paula.
It's neuter.
Yeah, it's neuter. Many things. That makes sense. That's why it comes out better. Many things. That's why they get the many things. And help me up there. It's nominative and accusative plural neuter form, right? And right. Or it can be used as an adverb. Sometimes the neuter winds up being used as an adverb as well. All right. All right. Any questions? So that sometimes happens. All right. That was a good point. I will spend a little time on it, but that's all right. Let's see. Who was the last one?
Bobby.
Okay, so Bobby's next. Is Bobby next, or was Bobby last? He was.
Was last. Yeah.
Right. So if you will there, go ahead there. Benjamin, please.
Proselthon auto hoi mathetai autu kai legusin hoti eremos estin ho topos. his disciples drew near him and say that this place is a wilderness.
Is a what now?
Wilderness or desert.
Wilderness, desert, yeah. Right.
It didn't quite in English. It didn't feel well formatted, so I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Hoi matatai is nominative case, isn't it? That's the subject of the disciples. And this is erkomai. It's a form of erkomai, but it's got a pros. Pros is a preposition on it. See, so it's just like our exerkomai, but they got pros as preposition of ek, right? So drew near, toward. They came toward him. See, they drew near him. That's good. They came toward him. The disciples came toward him or drew near to him. And what disciples? The disciples of him. So it would be his disciples. His disciples came near or came toward him. And they said that what?
Wilderness is the place. This place is a wilderness. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yes, this place is a wilderness. Here's the thing you get about this. Have we had Amy yet?
Yes.
Right here. I guess it just went off on me. Amy is a being verb. Right? So it is a being verb. And I'll put it in there so you know what I'm talking about. It's a being verb. And being verbs take their objects in the nominative case. Their objects are predicate nominatives. Right? That makes sense? So that's why this is in the nominative case. The desert, the place, and this is your subject because it has the article. And this right here is a predicate adjective, or it's a desert. So the place, okay, the place is that the place is a desert. That's why it's backwards to us. And because this is what's the article, it's the subject, right? It's in the nominative case. And this doesn't have the article, so it's functioning as a predicate nominative, or it's an adjective, it's a predicate adjective doing the same thing as a predicate nominative. So it's a predicate adjective. And so place, they said that the place is a desert.
Yeah, I guess I was just expecting a form of hutos or something to say this.
And so the place is a desert. Hoti is, if we look it up, you remember it's a form of a word that hostis, or this one, this certain thing. And so it points out something particular. All right. If we finish this part right here today, we'll go back and look at Hoti, and I'll show you some more. It's a pretty interesting word. Okay. All right. Any question there? It's Hoti would be from hostess. I think that'll get it right there. It's from that word right there. That was a rough reading and an accent mark, an acute and a rough reading on the Omicron. Okay? That's your word that we're talking about here. Right? That's where that really comes from. OT does. Right. Okay, it's found a bunch of times in the New Testament. We'll come over and look at it later. Okay. All right. And so it's a desert. Does that help a bit? Any questions? All right. If you would. I mean, you do this.
Okay. O de Jesus apin autois hu crean ecosin epelthane. But Jesus said to them, they need not go away.
Okay, but Jesus said to them, they need not, they don't have a need. See, not have a need to go away. You do not have a need to go away. You do not need to go away. And that's be better English. This negates this verb over here, right? Who always goes before what it negates. It's not negating this over here because it follows it. Always goes before, and it does not negate an infinitive. This is an infinitive over here. May negates an infinitive. Now I'll show you what may looks like. This right here negates an infinitive. This is not, just like who is not, but may negates it negates infinitives, and it negates verbs that are not in the that are not in the normal case that we're using here so far. In other words, it negates verbs that are in the imperative mood, subjunctive mood, and operative mood, not in the indicative mood. Who negates verbs in the indicative mood. May negates other verbs, infinitives, and participles. Okay? All right. So this is absolutely not. Okay? But Jesus said, right? He said what?
They need not go away, or they need not to depart.
He said to them,
Them, yeah.
to them, they need not go away, to depart. Right? Right? Okay. Any question there? Okay. Down to there, if you would, Bob. Not Bobby. Bobby was last. Okay. Benjamin, please.
Okay. Paidarion esque pente artu kai duo obsaria.
Okay.
A small boy had 5 loaves and 2 fish.
Okay. And these are cooked fish, if you look at it. Not just fish, but they're cooked fish. So they've been cooked. Okay. All right. So a small boy had 5 loaves. A pentagon is 5-sided, remember? Okay. 5-sided. And 2 fish, cooked fish. Okay. Now, I had a preacher that was taking Greek under me many, many years ago. I was teaching in another school. And he said he just didn't like people using the word loaf whenever we give thanks for the bread in the Lord's Supper. And so we talked about it a bit. When we came to this word, I pointed out to him, artos, that's our word here, is translated both as loaf and bread. It's translated both ways. Okay. And,
I had that same thing happen to me.
yeah, it's good to be desirous to be correct according to the scriptures. That's certainly commendable, but we need to be careful to be sure that we're not pressing something that's like that was just probably a little bit, not exactly right to press it, okay? Any question there? His zeal was commendable, okay? And certainly we've got to be sure that we're following the scriptures, okay? All right, anyway, I've got off to too much there a little bit. All right.
Okay. Let me ask you something about that SK. Is that supposed to have a movable new?
No, it could
Okay.
have. Here's the problem. Sometimes we have a pi next following it, so it wouldn't need one there. But
Okay.
a lot of times the manuscripts will have movable news when they're not needed.
Yeah.
For some reason, they don't know why, but they began to start putting them in when they weren't always needed. All right. So some of your manuscripts may, on a word like this, may put movable new on it. You got to watch them. And sometimes some of the Greek manuscripts, and they don't know why they did it. This is one
identifiable pattern.
that there's errors and textual variants in the Bible, and a whole bunch of them are movable news that really wouldn't have normally called for by the rules. There wasn't a diphthong or okay, that normally would have followed it, caused you to have it. Okay. All right, go ahead. What were you saying there, Benjamin? I'm sorry.
I think you kind of answered it. So it sounds like there wasn't any identifiable pattern to the application of the news.
Right, and this may be different regions of different dialects of Greek. I mean, it's just like English. We have the spelling of possum. I'll use it as an illustration, Possum, but the Opossum is a variant spelling, and it's accepted. The British, and they spell vapor, Vapour. We spell it Vapor. And there's a bunch of words like that they put an OUR, we put OR. And so it's a variant spelling, and it's the same word, just a different spelling. And I have a theory that this was one of the things that brought this on, is probably almost like vapor and vapor, VAPOR and VAPOUR, or savior, SAVIOUR, SAVIOR, savior. And it's just British English and American English. And I suspect that that's the case. I can't prove it, though. It's my problem. I wish I had someone that had researched it. I'm not going to worry about it because it's not that important to me. I'm not going to go in and spend my time researching it because it's not important to me. But it's a lot of the so-called textual variants are movable news that you normally wouldn't have thought would be there. So, I got off too much maybe, but I think it's something you need to be aware of. Does that make sense? Any questions?
Well, the reason why I asked, because I looked that word up, and it's like 2 places it doesn't have the movable new, and then in 3 places it does in the majority text.
Yeah, I think it's almost like what I was talking about. They throw it sometimes in you, and now if it has a vowel, if it has a not a vowel. I'm having a mental block right here now. Okay. Okay. A, E, I, O, and U. Okay. If it had one of those letters like an alpha and epsilon, right?
Yeah.
It had one of them after it, then it would call for it, but pi doesn't call for it, okay?
Yeah. I got you.
So you might need to look at it and what the letter following it is. Okay.
Yeah, well, I did. That's the reason why I asked. I wanted to make sure.
Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked it, because when we have them, we do have this. Okay, let's try the next one. I've forgotten who read last. I think Benjamin read last.
It's my time.
Okay.
Ededu tois mathetes auto hoi de mathete tois oklois kai ephagon. He gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the crowd, and they ate. That's just the way I put it.
All right. Let's see.
Gave to the disciples. He gave to his disciples.
Okay, you're reading the next one. Did we do this?
Okay, I'll go back. I thought I was in the right one, but I was looking at movable new. So I had the same question with the very first word.
I think you translated the next one pretty good. I'll have to listen.
Yeah, good translation, by the way.
Okay, Benjamin, you improve on it. Time I go to the other one.
Some variants are this nature. Textual variants in the Greek manuscripts, they would leave a word out or a whole line out, omit a line. There's some names for that, but we're not going to be studying it right now. I think I'll be trying to teach a class in that a little bit later. Maybe we'll have it another year or so from now. It all depends on whether I live and, I'm still alive and all that. I'm making plans that I'm trying to plan things, but I don't have any guarantee of living tomorrow. But I'm going to plan as if I'm going to and try to work and plan my work. But let's go back, okay?
Okay.
Try
Elebe de tus artus ho Jesu ka u logobsen autus. And I did it. Jesus took and blessed the loaves.
Okay. He just took the loaf. Okay, Jesus took the loaf and blessed it. All right, he blessed the loaf. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Eleve de tus artus ho Jesu kai elegeson sin artus. Right? All right. Now we got this. You've already done Benjamin's work for him, okay?
Edidu tois mathetais autu hoi de mathetai tois oklois kai ephagon. He gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the crowd, and they ate.
And they now say the ephagon, it's at the on ending. That could be singular or plural, but you translate it as plural because of the context. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because crowd is plural. So that's where and in this case, there was no problem with it because it's obvious the crowd is the ones that are eating, okay? Okay? Any question there? Let's go back and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'm sure you're aware of what I'm talking about, but it won't hurt for me to show it. We have the on ending for the singular and the on ending for the third person plural. First person singular, third person plural have the same ending. And so we know that's third person plural. That's what we're using context as to translate. And sometimes context has to be used for translation. And this is an example of where you have to use it for a translation because this could be first person singular or third person plural, if I've gone. Okay, very good. And you translated it correctly. Okay, next one, I think it's Bobby's turn.
Okay. Make sure I'm gonna get the right one this time. Says
You got
ho
the
arithmos.
right one.
I know. Ho arithmos hang pentakiskaloi. That's not right. It's the word for 5,000. Pentakiskaloi. Leo. Well, anyway, it means the number was 5,000.
Okay.
Say that again.
Pentakit, pentas, pentakiskaloi. 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 I was putting the wrong one on the wrong vowel. Pentakiskaloi. Pentakiskaloi. That's correct. Benjamin's done better at his pronunciation than I am. Okay. Okay. That's very good, Benjamin. You do well, and your father does too. Okay. All right. That's perfect. That's very good. I like your pronunciation. You do well. All right. But now, so penta is 5, and so that would be kilioi is 1,000. So that's 5,000. Now, there's a lesson in this book right at the end of the book on numbers. All right. And some numbers are declinable and some are not. Okay. All right. Okay. Next one. Oh, wait a second. Arithmos. Our word arithmetic comes from it, doesn't it? Numbers.
Arithmos.
All right. Let's see. Now we get Benjamin. We throw him to the wolves. That was a long.
Oi un anthropoi edon ton semeyon kai elegon hoti ha prophetes elthen es ton cosmo. Therefore the men saw the sign and said, the prophet came into the world.
Okay. Came into the world. The prophet came into the world. Right? And cosmos, the cosmos is a term that's used also. And cosmetics comes from the root word, something arranged in an orderly fashion. Okay. Any question? Therefore, the men, and this is men. Usually it's a male, it's masculine gender, of course, but it's used also for just generic for people. On air would be a man versus a woman. Okay. All right. And that would be on air. That would be on air. That would be a man versus a woman. Let me do this. Oh. That's a man versus a woman right there, right? And anthropos is generic. It can be a man or a woman. But in this case, I believe it's a man. No, it's masculine. Of course, it is masculine in nature to begin with. But it's generic. It can include men and women. But I think it's men. And they saw the sign. And this elegon, it's Lego. And again, the on ending could be first person singular, third person plural. But again, we see a plural subject over here, so that makes it third person. I think that's how you translate it. My memory's right. That there's that hoti again. We'll come back to it. The prophet has come into the world. Now notice the article, the prophet, not just a prophet. So they're probably looking maybe back to Deuteronomy, where Moses said there'll be a prophet come into the world, and he's prophesying of Jesus. Okay. So if this is from the text of the Bible, the article probably is going to a specific reference to some prophet particular. I would go back to Moses' prophecy, probably back in Deuteronomy. All right. Had come into the world. Does that help? Any questions? Everybody okay?
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Now then, do you want to go off? Do you want to do text B, or do you want to go over into and maybe do text B next week and go into something? Go off
Up to you.
OT.
No, we can just do the first couple of text B and then move on next week.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Why don't we do that? That'd be fine with me.
Legete, wait just a minute. Legete, you all are saying.
Okay.
I translate present active, indicative, plural, second plural.
Okay.
And then it can also be translated, I think, as middle. Is that right? No, not middle.
Not the first one. It's present.
It's the same. It's the same spelling as imperative.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, but we haven't covered imperative.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Mr. Bobby.
You're right. Well, I had to look that word up. See, once in my head. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. You all were saying. Epete, you all said. Or ete, you all shall say. Again, to say. A pain, to say.
Okay.
So we could say Legain, a pain, to say, to say.
Okay. So this second one is what tense?
Imperfect.
Imperfect. And what's the difference in imperfect and what's tense is this over here, this next one?
That one's areas.
And what's the difference? They're both past tense. What's the difference in their meaning?
Well, they were saying it's something they were saying in the imperfect. I said you all were saying.
Yeah, it's a good translation.
You all say. You all said.
You all were saying.
Yes. So we could do it both ways. It would seem. You all were saying. You all said. Yeah, same thing.
But imperfect is linear durative action, something continuing to go on. You were saying. And
Oh yeah, that's yeah. And plus, it comes from another word. Let go.
Yeah, well, this next one comes from that. Remember, it changes its form in the aorist. All right, so yeah, that's aorist, the one that's highlighted now. So
yeah,
what we got
is
you said. I'm sorry, they said. You all said.
Yeah, that's what you all said. Being from the South, I'd rather say y'all said.
That'd be good Southern English, wouldn't
it? Yeah. And then that next one was future. You all shall say.
Right.
And then you had the infinitives.
You have two infinitives. What's the difference in them? This is kind of important to interpretations. Reason I'm bringing it up. The first one's what kind of infinitive? Present or aorist?
It's present, and that last one, apan, is
The second kind of infinitive.
the first one is present. The second one is aorist.
That's correct. And so the difference is the present infinitive is, and to lego, to say, this is someone that is a sayer, someone who is speaker. Right? And so the second one of being aorist is just they said, and they're not necessarily a speaker, they just said something. All right. So this present is more durative in nature.
Okay, you go back then where you just did that one. Will you do those that imperfect and aorist again, legete, and tell me what you said in reference to that?
Right. Legete is
You all were saying.
They say or they are saying. You can translate it either way. Okay.
Okay.
And this is they were saying. So it's durative. In fact, the Greeks didn't use the imperfect unless they were trying to stress duration or something that was continually going on in the past. They're looking at it. The aorist could indicate something that went on over a period of time, but they're not stressing that durative action with the aorist. They're looking at all of it, wrapped it up in a neat little ball. Okay. Most of your past tense is aorist in Greek. It loves the aorist tense. So when they use the imperfect tense, there was a reason for it. That's what the scholars tell us. Okay. And there's your future. Does that help you a bit?
Yes, sir.
Legain is present. This is someone doing it, like someone who's working at it. He's speaking. He's a speaker, basically. And this is someone who just speaks, says something. Maybe he just says one sentence or says one word or something like that. Right? But this one is more of actually someone doing it, maybe even like a speaker. You can take didasco and didaskain. You can put it in the aorist and then present tense. You can have a present infinitive, didasco. This is in 1 Timothy 2:12. And let's take it here. I believe that's what we have in 1 Timothy 2:12. We do it here. Yeah, that's it. And this is a present infinitive. This is a speaker, a teacher, someone who's a teacher. And if you put it in the aorist, it would be just to teach, like you teach something, just a second or two, a minute. And so it's not necessarily one who is a teacher. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
That's the next one.
Do y'all mind? We only have a couple of minutes. I actually had some questions on two of them. Did you have any questions, Bobby?
On what now?
I had a few questions on 10 and 11.
10 and 11?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I can go down there. I don't remember what they were now.
Can I tell you what I got, and then I don't know if it's well done or not. Is that all right with y'all?
Go ahead, number 10 if you like.
Okay, I said, for he is not beautiful to receive the bread of children and to throw to the dogs. It just didn't make sense to me.
Well, it could be it. Instead of he, she, or it.
For it is not
Good. It is not good to give the bread of the children, okay, even to the dogs.
to give the bread.
To receive or give, for it is not good. It's not pleasing. See, he's not talking about morally good. It's just not a thing that you normally do. It's not pleasant to look at, to give the bread of the children, the children's bread, even to the and also Balaam is to give it to throw it to the dogs. All right, but these dogs here, and Jesus used an expression almost similar to that one instance, but it's a lap dog. It's not an old street dog, a cur dog. All right, you study it more fully, so he's not not putting the woman down very much. Okay, he's showing her he has an affection for her by choosing this word for dog rather than the other word for dog.
So let me make sure. Let me make sure I got that. So you said, "For it is not good to give the bread of children or the children's bread, even to throw to the dogs."
Yeah. And, or it could be and, to throw it to the dogs, to cast it to the dogs.
Okay. And then number 11, I said the servants went away into the world, but they did not receive out of the world.
Yes, it did not take. The servants went away into the world, but now Allah, and this is, it has an off at the end, and they put an apostrophe there because you got a diphthong following it, and the movable new won't work there, make it a different word. Does that make sense? So that's what happens. This is Allah. Allah is the word but, one of the words for but it always introduces a completely different class, a different set, good versus evil or something like that, right? So the servants went out into the world, but they did not take out of the world. They did not take things out of the world. And so this is not the Bible per se, he's just kind of using it. It's similar to what the Bible says. We're in the world, but we're not of the world, or something to that effect. So they go out into the world, but they don't take things out of the world. They don't take this, probably the worldly things is more of what he had in mind. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That help?
Yes, sir.
Now,
do you have any questions?
The Bible doesn't use this terminology here, but verse number 10 is pretty close to a passage that Jesus said. I think it was the Syrophoenician woman that wanted him to heal her daughter, I think it was.
Yeah, Matthew 15:26.
Yeah. But that word for dog is not an old street cur dog. It's a lap dog. Okay.
A lap dog. That's what you said, a lap dog.
Yeah, something like it. Your lap.
Yep, lap dog.
Okay. Play with. Right.
Okay.
Not a vicious dog, a real one that's kind of affectionate and lovable. Okay. That makes more sense. Jesus used a different word. I think this is the word he used there in that passage. We're pretty close to the end. We're down to it. We've been going 55 minutes. So Those were good questions. Though. Any other questions you got there?
I'm good at it, just if Bobby has any.
No, I don't have any.
Okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna call a halt now, and I will stop recording. Well.